All right, everybody, we're about to break it down. We got 3 articles coming at you. We're going to hit it hard. Let's go. The quote for tonight comes from F.A. Hayek. The more the state plans, the more difficult planning becomes for the individual. Ain't that the damn truth? Son of a bitch, man. I finally finished my garden. Finally got my garden up. I gotta share this thing, but yeah, I finally got my stuff. I got some pictures and everything. I'm gonna send that to y'all in a little bit. But yeah, we're ready to go. How y'all been doing? Y'all have a good weekend so far, gentlemen?
Yeah, nah, can't complain. Had a solid weekend. Hung out with some homies. Did some studying and
All right.
taking care of my people. You feel me?
Nice. Yeah, I ran to Amber and I went to my mother-in-law's in Illinois, which was cool, and which it's always. And I sat and talked with my father-in-law, but it's Amber's stepdad, for like 4 hours. So you can imagine he got full anarchist indoctrination. So the poor guy.
Wait. Where's the? Let me see if I can. He got this treatment.
That's right.
Yep. All right. Good shit. Yep. Well, so gentlemen, let's get right into it. We do this thing where like every other week we have a guest. We interview a guest, or I even like to think of it. This is less of an interview show, and it's more of we're having a conversation with people who we find interesting, who we like the way that they think, we like the way they see the world, and we want to share our viewpoints and their viewpoints with ourselves, with each other, and with our viewership. But then in the other weeks, we have 1 week a month where we do what we're going to do today, and we have another week a month where we do what we did a couple of weeks ago, where we talk about spirituality. Today, though, it's going to be really fun. We got 3 stories. Each of us picked our own story, and we're going to go through it kind of line by line almost and break it down. We did this last time a month ago with Marcus broke down the State of the Union, and Nicco and I had our own little stories that we wanted to cover. But this one should be fun, and I'm going to let, since I think Nicco has the first one, I'm going to let him go ahead and start with his. This is a really interesting story that Nicco, your man Joe Biden.
Whoa! Stop that. He calls my people roaches. Okay. No, I'm not doing
I'm
that.
just joking. Anyway, so we got this $35 a month insulin cap that is coming down. So this is kind of interesting. On the surface, sounds like, oh, this is good. They're making it to where it's harder for people to rip us off. But Nicco, let's get into this. Break it down for us.
Yeah. So apparently, these hoes. The House passed the bill capping the monthly cost of insulin for $35 for insured patients, part of the election year push by Democratic for price curbs on the prescription drugs at the time of rising inflation, which you hoes caused in the first place. Experts say that the legislation, which passed 232 to 193 Thursday, would provide significant relief and for privately insured patients with skimpier plans for Medicare enrollees facing rising out-of-pocket prices or out-of-pocket cost for their insulin. Some could save hundreds of dollars annually, and insured patients would get the benefit predictably monthly cost for insulin. The bill would not help the uninsured.
So if you don't have insurance, you fucked.
Yeah, well,
yeah, this is a good place to stop. Yeah, for a second.
So go ahead. If you didn't buy into Obamacare or take your mandate and get your insurance like they wanted you to, then you SOL.
Yeah, this shit is weird. I mean, I don't want to touch on the political spectrum, even though we talk the shit. It's going to be funny for Republicans. It's really good. It's like a slap in the face. They're like, "Ha, we don't really give a fuck about you guys and your health anymore," or still very, very prevalent.
Right.
And it's really going to like fuck with a lot of people who don't have the opportunity to get insurance type per se.
Yeah.
Like, no, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say you're right. The Republicans. This is a setup for Republicans, because they know that the Republicans are just going to react to anything. Hotep Jesus has pointed this out 1,000 times, that the Republicans don't, and for that matter, so is Sonny Johnson, so is Felicia. Lots of people have pointed it out. They just react. They don't lead. Yeah. They don't lead on things. And so what this is,
unless it's going to war.
Right,
and then even in this case, they're getting left behind because Biden is like, this man, for God's sake, this man cannot stay in power. Like, did you hear that shit from the podium? Yeah. He's like calling for regime change in Russia. It's like, okay.
Right. So you're right. It is a rope-a-dope. And, you know, for me, because I know Dan Berman, when I hear this, I hear $35. You do realize the freer market in Mexico has them for $7.
Like, right. But you can't go across state lines and get you some insulin for $7 and then like, this is the same shit y'all just shipped out. Y'all don't know what this is. Like, they're gonna play stupid now.
And to your point, Nicco, about going across state lines or across, you know, national lines or anything like that, that's also one of the things that was brought up, and it's definitely true. And you hear some of these insurance companies make the stupidest excuses for why you can't have somebody buy insurance in Idaho to cover them in Louisiana or something like that. It's like, why not? I can do everything else practically except buy car insurance and health insurance. Like, insurance is the only stuff that you have to buy it from in the state that you're in.
Yeah.
And if you could buy it across state lines, what's funny is that they can come up with a federal plan that's okay. Like Medicare, Medicaid. No. That one, you can have that wherever. We just made that one universal because that one we know from Washington, D.C. how to make it perfect for everybody. But there's no way you as an individual could possibly buy a Montana health insurance policy that'll cover you in Louisiana. And so there's no competition. So they put these walls up around each state and they say, these are the 3 companies that can provide insurance in this state. And that's it. Pick one.
That's dumb. That's real dumb. That's like, if you would, like a monopoly, like mini monopolies.
It's an oligopoly. Yeah. It's you got the oligarchs and they're like, only us. Now, the 5 families, you know, like the mafia, you know, the 5 families can compete with each other.
Right.
But if somebody else tries to step up, we will all work together to kill them.
Right.
If I had an orange peel, I would put it in my teeth right now.
Right.
Scare my grandkid. All right, so let's get back to the article here real quick. Here you go, Nicco.
So we're the affordable insulin, the
Affordable Insulin Now Act,
the Affordable Insulin Now Act will serve as a political vehicle to rally Democrats and force Republicans who oppose it into uncomfortable votes ahead of the midterms. For the elections to pass Congress, 10 Republican senators would have to vote in favor. Democrats acknowledge they don't have the answer for how that's going to happen. If 10 Republicans stand between the American people being able to access affordable insulin, that's a good question for 10 Republicans to answer, said Republican Dan
Kildee,
my bad.
Yeah.
D. Mitch, a composer of the House bill. Republicans get diabetes too. Republicans die from diabetes.
That sounds like Michael Jordan. Remember when Michael Jordan said Republicans buy sneakers too? He's like, I'm trying to sell Jordans, bro.
Public opinion polls have consistently shown support across party lines for congressional action to limit drug costs. But Republican Kathy McMorris, Rogers, R. Welsh complain. All
right, so Nicco, let me school you on something real quick because you're not a political maven or anything like that.
No,
that means Republican from Washington. That R-Wash. And just like D. Mitch was Democrat from Michigan.
Okay,
so,
yeah,
but it's cool though. Like you're a good anarchist who has paid so little attention to that shit that you're like, I don't even know what this bullshit means. These stupid ass abbreviations. So I respect it.
That just shows my ignorance. So I have to do better.
But it comes from a good place though, because you're like, I'm on my business. I don't fuck.
Yeah, I don't give a fuck about this shit. Like fuck these guys. Like, complaining the legislation is only a small piece of larger package around government price control for prescription drugs. Critics say the bill would raise premium and fail to target pharmaceutical middlemen seen as contribution to high prices for insulin. Senator Chuck Grassley, from Iowa, fuck you hoes. I'm just kidding. But, said Democrats could have a deal of prescription drugs if they drop their bid to Medicare to negotiate prices. Do Democrats really want to help seniors, or would they rather have their campaign issues? Grassley said. The bill, which would take up to effect in 2023, represents just one provisional of a much broader prescription drug package in President Joe Biden's social and climate legislation.
So it seems like they have a new prescription drug thing like every 10, 20 years. Like it's just like Medicare Part D, Medicaid. Yeah, it's just
okay. So it was the Medicaid system.
What they do is so here's the problem. I'm gonna pull the screen back here just for a second. So here's the problem. Here's how this stuff all starts. All right. So first of all, through the regulatory framework and everything else around that, the FDA, CDC, the approval process, even like just the Senate committee hearings and House committees, all these approval processes that you have to go through, and the lobbying that's involved makes it to where only certain massive corporations can even come to the table to participate in any of this stuff. So then they're friends, right? So then they create legislation that makes things a little more difficult for smaller providers to contribute and to compete. So then what that does is that creates a supply and demand crisis that then creates a price crisis that then they have a solution that comes in the form of, well, what we're going to do is we're going to guarantee it. We're going to pay for it out of the taxpayers' pockets. And so then what that does is that then opens up the floodgates for them to spend as much money as possible to keep these prices down,
and gives the money to the corporation.
Right. So it's all paid for with tax dollars. Funnels directly to the corporations that were getting rich off of this shit to begin with the legislation that they created. Then it's still choking out competition because you have to get these federal dollars. You have to meet all these requirements that Nicco's little corner pharmacy or whatever is not going to be able to afford to do, because you're only pulling in enough to feed you and maybe one other person. But you're really taking care of the people.
The CVS is good to go.
But CVS, Walgreens, they're good to go. So what they do, they do that. Then the next step is, and this is the real funny part. This is the jukes that nobody sees coming, but it's the thing that makes the whole world go round. What do you think happens when you take the medical industry and you funnel a bunch of money that has no accountability behind it into it, that all you have to do is just keep raising taxes to increase that revenue, and nobody sees at point of purchase the cost of what they're asking for. So you have somebody who's 70 years old, they go to the doctor, they get 19 tests run, only one, maybe two of which they actually need. But let's do all this stuff as a precaution because we want to catch something early just in case.
Because it's free.
Because it's free and you're not paying for it. It's part of Medicare. It's paid for by your Medicare. Like, oh, yeah, okay. So then guess what happens? All those costs, if they're not paid for through that program, they're pushed onto other services that other people have to pay for out of pocket. And when you have all that money coming in, you create a greater demand for those services because now, well, shit, I got to run these 19 tests. Now I don't have time for this other stuff. So if you want me to run your test that you're paying for out of pocket, you're gonna have to pay more because you got to get in line behind these people that I'm getting this free federal money from.
And
so
by the way, we'll
skyrocket.
And by the way, exactly. And by the way, we'll give you a special card to get the fact that you have to buy for $70 a year to get into that short line.
So then the healthcare costs skyrocket. Guess what the solution is? Another big federal program that's going to do the same thing that's caused the shit in the first place.
So they're just continuously
rinse, repeat.
Right. Just making copies of themselves and just cloning.
Exactly. It's a replication cycle.
For sure. I want to add one little piece to this too that Chad, you didn't cover, because that was excellent. I gotta say that was a really good analysis of what they do all the damn time, whether it's medical shit or gas, anything. But I think a piece we need to put in this isn't intended to pass. Again, and this comes back to Murray Rothbard. Right. Well, this is what Murray Rothbard said. None of this shit. Government was not designed for care. It was designed for force and for the necessary appeals to votes. That's it. That's all it's for. This is so that the Democrats have a issue that they might retain somebody, because they're going to get ass whipped this coming fucking election cycle. So they're looking for some way to hold on to a seat or two, and so they can use this to say, "Oh, these evil Republicans don't care." It won't get passed by the time the elections come through. And what's going to happen is
political ads after political ads,
right?
After political ads talking about this issue,
right? And it's never going to get passed. You know where I learned this particular formula from? Most people don't know. I worked in the student loan industry for some time. I was in that, and they do the exact same fucking thing with student loans. Remember when Joe Biden was going to give you $50,000 off your student loans, and then $10,000 and didn't give you shit? Yeah, that went away in January. What also happened in January? Yeah, Joe Biden came into office. So this is just a promise that they can make, knowing that they're not going to actually do it. It's the same thing as them saying they're going to raise minimum wage, which is a bad idea. But at the same time, it's the same thing. They can promise it all day long and then do nothing. And they can pound on Republicans, and because they didn't try to get it to go through, they want it to not go through, because then they've got to explain where the money comes from when it does go through.
Right. Well, and so one last thing, if I may, this is more typically done with like military projects or any kind of infrastructure projects, typically military projects. One of the other things that's a slick thing that they do in Washington, D.C. is, so this is, bro, you got to respect the game. Like these people, Marcus, I know you talk about them being incompetent all the time. I think there's a certain level of incompetence in certain areas.
Sure.
But one thing they are really good at is being fucking con men. They're excellent at being con men. So here's the trick. All right. So you got this big military project. All right. Nobody wants to pay for this shit. It's a massive increase in the military budget, right? Well, no. What you do is the first step is you say that this new weapon system can, from South Carolina, nuke Vladimir Putin's master bathroom, and only his master bathroom, just to take him out and do no collateral damage whatsoever. And it costs 35 cents to do so. And so then people are like, well, shit, that sounds great. Who came up with this? Let's do it. Sign me up. Let's make this happen.
We missed some of the cost.
And then the next thing you know is it's $4 trillion, not 35 cents. And it blows up the entire half of the planet.
Right.
Now, the second phase of this brilliant strategy for this military waste and over expenditure and grift effectively is, this is the brilliant part of it, is you make sure that there's a little piece of every step of the manufacturing process or of the service or the I don't know, the promotion or the logistics of, or the you have a base where they train on how to use it. Whatever it is, there's something in damn near every congressional district in the United States.
Mm-hmm.
So that whenever this project is shown to be the asshat that it is, when they bring that to the voting public and they say, hey, this is bullshit, we need to get rid of this program. Yeah, but that's going to cost 2,000 jobs in our district. So nobody votes against it.
You'll never get reelected if you vote against it.
So it's the perfect grift, and they do it time and time again. And it's the same thing with this stuff. So let's quickly go back to the article here. Oh, whoops, I clicked the wrong thing. This is what I meant to click. All right, there we go. So we're back here. We were at I think Representative Kathy McMorris. Or no, we were already at Grassley, right? Yeah. Yeah. No, we already got through that. Let's see. Out-of-pocket enrollees. Yeah, that's it. I think we were here. In addition to a similar $35 cap on insulin, the Biden bill would authorize Medicare to negotiate prices for a range of drugs, including insulin. It would penalize drug makers who raise prices faster than inflation. And how you, bro? You know how hard it is to increase prices faster than inflation right now.
Just imagine when the Weimar Republic.
You got to have a nitrous pack in your fucking car to outpace inflation. Shit. Anyway, continue, Nicco. My bad.
Wait, you read that first little paragraph. So Biden's agenda passes the House only to stall in the Senate because the Democrats could not reach a consensus. Party leaders have abandoned hope of getting the legislation moving again and preserving its drug prices curbs largely intact.
Intact, yeah.
The idea of
Republicans.
Yeah. The idea of 35 is that dollars? Okay.
Yeah, $35 monthly cost.
That's weird. The idea of $35 monthly cost cap for insulin actually has a bipartisan pedigree.
Because one dude likes it.
The Trump administration has created a voluntary option for Medicare enrollees to get insulin for $35, and the the Biden administration continued it. And the Senate, Republican Susan Collins.
There's a shock. There's the one that usually likes it.
I was going to say this.
I could have called that.
Susan Collins and Democrat Janine
Shaheen. Yeah, Janine Shaheen. Or
Jean
no,
Shaheen.
Gene Shaheen.
They're a big pile of Gene.
Oh, my bad. I'm working on a bipartisan insulin bill. Senator Ralph Warnock.
Warnock. That's the one from Atlanta.
Okay. Has introduced legislation similar to the House bill with support of Senator, Chuck Schumer?
Chuck Schumer, yeah.
Yeah.
So it will hit. If you see something with Chuck Schumer's name on it, that means it's going to get brought up again and again and again.
Mm-hmm.
Well, this is going to be fun. Stung by criticism that Biden's economic policies spur inflation, Democrats are redoubling efforts to show how they help people cope with costs. On Thursday, the Commerce Department reported a key inflation gauge jumped to 6.4% in February compared with a year ago, the largest
it's 6% in a year
since January 1982. You are some hoes.
Y'all remember when they told us there wasn't any inflation?
Right. Or now it's the greedy corporations are causing it.
No, it's Putin.
It's Putin.
They said it's
Putin's oligarchs are doing it.
Wait. How did Putin invading Russia make prices go up last July?
Right.
I don't understand this.
Because I don't know.
Because of the Rona.
Yeah. We'll leave it to Rona.
We need to hire some TikTokers.
What is it? But experts? Yeah,
that's it.
But experts say the House bill would not help uninsured people who face the highest out-of-pocket costs for insulin.
I thought everybody had the free shit. I thought everybody. I've never had Obamacare, just to be clear. I thought everybody.
Allegedly, we all have it, right? Everybody got it because we were forced to, right? Like that's what I was trying to say. Like, man, if y'all went and did the whole thing for Obamacare, y'all probably went and got the shots too.
You know? Oh yeah, you know.
But if you didn't, if you were just like, nah, you know what, I'm good, thanks though, then you were probably like the same way with when it came to the Rona stuff. But anyway.
Also, people with diabetes often other medications as well as insulin that that's done to treat the diabetes itself, along with other serious health conditions associated with diabetes. The health legislation would not help with those costs either. Collins is looking for a way to help uninsured people through her bill. Okay.
37 million have diabetes. 67 million use insulin. It's an old drug, refined and improved over the years, but seen relentless price increases. Yeah, okay. I'm trying to read through, just kind of skim through.
Yeah, no.
The market for insulin is a total disaster for many patients. Well, not the ones who get it from Dan.
Right.
Brings it over from Mexico for $7.
So breaking.
Right.
Just so everybody knows, the addition to this particular bill that they just added last week, you may not have heard about it. Just breaking news, breaking it here on Aquarian Anarchy. Now, not only do you get your insulin, you get your syringe, you get all of that. You also get
your crack pipe.
Crack pipe.
Yeah.
You get a crack pipe right in there. Yeah. Build crack better.
Yeah. On both sides of the streets.
Right.
We're raging again, everybody. Let's get back cracking like the 80s in Miami, baby.
All right, Marcus, you're up, Big Daddy.
All right. Well, I want to kind of finish up real quick. I'll get into it. No, I do want to finish up with that. I do think that, and Schumer, by the way, just happened to be one of the people with the student loan stuff too, that they forgot. Oops. But
it gets brought up until it's like, yeah, let's not bring that up.
Dude, I know. I talk to people all the fucking time. I'd call people and be talking to them about their student loans, and they'd be these motherfuckers be like, Biden got rid of all that. I don't have to pay nothing. Oh well, unfortunately, to tell you.
let me tell you.
You're
sadly,
right. You're right.
Mistaken.
You now owe us $100,000. Talk to you later.
Has the government really ever provided a service other than what just happened, and it not be a facade?
No,
ever.
What do you mean? What just happened?
What the last 2 years?
Oh yeah, but that was a facade too.
Right.
Yeah, I was like, what are you talking about?
But it's okay. I can probably tell you on this block, maybe on your block and somebody else's block, there's people having the same fucking conversation.
Yeah.
And that conversation sparks and it kind of can grow like wildfire, but niggas are still getting duped.
Right. For sure, all the time. It works. They got people hating the Republicans instead of thinking about the logic of this bill. That's what they're doing.
Look, it's WrestleMania weekend. People still watch the WWE.
Hey, bro.
All right.
Hey, whoa.
Listen. Whoa. I got a lot of respect for the people who recognize it for what it is and who are just like, hey, this is entertaining. There's some good acting. The Rock came out of here. There's all kind of.
You can't act from jumping off of a ladder. That's the only real thing.
Bro, you saw that one dude who got his neck broke. Yeah. A couple weeks ago, where the dude threw him over his shoulder, it was like a suplex messed up or something like that, and he ended up landing on his head on the ground on the concrete. It was on the padding on the concrete, but still, that padding don't give enough
concrete. That's not enough cushion, baby. No, not at all.
But no, I said this back. I tweeted this probably 3 years ago. I said politics is like professional wrestling for people who think professional wrestling is fake.
Right.
For people who make fun of professional wrestling for being fake. I'm like, yeah, that's because that's what it is. Is like people put way too much emphasis on this stuff. I get it. Some of these things have real consequences that affect people, no doubt. But this idea that you're going to find this person who happens to be right on one or two topics and that person's not going to end up like fucking you over on a different one.
Right.
It's all a setup, and the people are carefully chosen for us so that whenever the time is right, they can flip the war switch or the police brutality switch or the tax switch or the debt switch or whichever switch they need to switch or flip. And you'll have people out there. I was actually talking. We got Jose Alberto Nino coming on end of May. He's scheduled to come on, and we talked on the phone today. And he was talking about how astonished he's been at watching like libertarian leadership type people and watching like some of these GOP people who saw through the BS the last couple of years. And then like some of these anti-war left people who he has some other anti-war left people who are like flabbergasted too. They're like, I can't believe some of the people who I'm friends with who have been anti-war. They're just like, no, but this is different about Russia and the Ukraine. It's like, no, it's like, it's the same as Iraq War 1, Iraq War 2, Assad
Libya.
and Syria. And like all the, like, oh, can you believe they're throwing babies out of incubators? Can you believe Assad is gassing his own people? I'm like, really? Is he? Or is that an op too? Like, it's to the point now where, and you said this, Marcus, at the very beginning, like, I don't know what the fuck is going on over there, but I know that they're full of shit. You know what I mean? Like, I don't have to know exactly what the truth is to know that I'm being lied to.
Right. For sure. And to your final point, Nicco, is do they ever, let's take something completely different that's also in the news right now. We don't have an article for it, but they're trying to, the Democrats are now interested in legalizing marijuana, right? So they put this bill through that's supposed to, or they're trying to put this bill through.
Decriminalize like it federally, like everywhere.
Correct.
Right.
What if you read it, it is designed to put the legalization of marijuana into the hands of a very few people.
Yeah, yeah.
And like we learned with what was going on in Kentucky back with who was that? One of our
Massey?
No, it wasn't Massey. It was one of our guests was talking about that. I can't remember which one it was. But anyhow,
I know who you're talking about though. Michael,
right.
Shit, what's his name?
So anyhow, at the end of the day, what they're doing is they're trying to get all of the legal pot. They want it. They see that they can make a shit ton of money with it, so they want the right people to make the shit ton of money in their mind.
And they're gonna fucking pesticide the hell out of your weed.
Absolutely,
they're gonna do some dirty things,
and they're going to do like we talked about. They're going to put a bunch of regulations on it so that the regular person can't start their own business.
Michael Plumhoff,
yes, and so because they already showed how they did it in Kentucky with him. If you're interested, go watch the Michael Plumhoff video, and you can learn all about it.
I'll link that after the show.
Awesome,
so that it'll be in there so people can go see it. But yeah, what's funny too. Well, go finish your point because it's funny that you say that because I have a perfect example of a politician who people put their faith in, and who's fucking terrible on this very issue. Go ahead.
Yeah. So the final thing that they did as well in the bill is that if you are busted, even with legal weed, the in law enforcement side is like 10 times more strong than it is now. So they increased the law enforcement section of it stronger than it is now, but it's legal. So again, that's exactly how they do shit. It is always about control. The government is there to govern you, which means to control.
Right.
So Chad, you were saying.
Hang on just a second because I got to find it. So keep talking. Okay. Somebody say something. Give me just a second.
Something.
So,
no, go ahead.
Yeah. So just to that point,
go ahead.
Go ahead. No, go ahead, Nicco.
Okay, so am I tweaking, or is the people out in Russia covering what's happening on Mr. Biden's laptop, his son's laptop? Yeah. And they were like putting it all over their news, but our news, they just
all propaganda, right? And the reason is because we don't have news in this country. We don't have a news organization that is not an independent organization. We do not have the CNN is controlled, Fox is controlled, your magazines, newspapers, all of them are controlled, and it's the same in Russia. It's the same in Europe. It's the same no matter where you go. So of course, like for instance, they had, and I posted it on Twitter, they had Adam on RT today. They didn't have Adam on RT because they wanted the truth. They had Adam on RT. Something just fell down. Anyway,
I think that's my boys in the other room. Okay, here it is. I found it, by the way. So whenever, let me know when you're ready, and I can. Okay, cool. I can share it. Anyway, so go ahead, finish.
So they had Adam on RT because they knew that he would be against our military. They knew that he would be, well, not really against the military, but against the use of the military and the military industrial complex. And they knew that, so they used him as propaganda against the American people.
That's fucked.
Oh my God. Never mind this fucking shit. Oh my God, I swear. I don't know why it did it again, where now like I have to go get approved to share my screen again. So I can't do it. Well, anyway, I'm just gonna read it. So hang on, because it's gonna have to shut down StreamYard to do it. So I'm just gonna read. This is Justin Amash on April 1st, 2022. This is not an April Fool's joke. Okay. Sounds like one, but it's not. So I say it because Justin Amash is one of those people who everybody was like, "Oh, Justin Amash, he's the libertarian savior.
I warned
we just
people.
need him to come out." And I did too. He was like all on the UBI train. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? Anyway, so here we go. Marijuana cannabis bill. Better to tax cannabis like alcohol than keep it illegal, which amounts to an infinite tax. Better to have some regulation of cannabis than the current maximal regulation, prohibition. Better to let people buy cannabis than put people in prison for it. And so to that, I say, listen, nobody is saying, if you want that to be your explanation for why you said, look, I'm going to vote for this because it's a slight improvement over the current paradigm where you get thrown in a cage for just whatever normal, at least this provides some sort of avenue. Now, granted, it sucks that they're monopolizing it and they're funneling you to certain purveyors of cannabis, but at least it's making it better than if you wanted to say, like, this is my explanation for why I'm going to try to take this, Fabian approach, slow and steady wins the race, to try to get us an incremental improvement. Okay, that's fine if that's your explanation for that. That's not what that tweet was. Right. What that tweet was an opportunity to say, this sucks, but it sucks a little bit less than what we're currently dealing with. So that's why I'm reluctantly saying, let's take this little bit of ground that we can, and then we'll get a foothold and go somewhere else. No, this is good.
Yeah.
Because it's I'm going to find a way to explain my way out of it instead of taking that opportunity, because all you're doing is tweeting at that point.
Yeah.
It's just tweeting. You can tweet anything. The tweet could very easily be, instead, it should be fully legal. It should be fully decriminalized. You should be able to grow a plant in your backyard and do whatever the hell you want with it, as long as you're not harming someone else or stealing from someone else. You should be able. It's absolutely preposterous that you can't grow a plant in your backyard without facing the threat of getting thrown in prison.
Right.
Wait, and you say he's a libertarian?
Yeah, he says he's a libertarian. I don't say shit like that.
He was a Republican. And then he got elected to Congress and switched his affiliation to libertarian, and then got roundly knocked out of office. And so
he was going to lose anyway.
Yeah, he was going to lose anyway. The Libertarian Party had a lame duck 3-month libertarian in Congress, and they were all like, "Oh, look at us!" Right. And so then they worshipped him.
And he did nothing.
Yeah, they worshipped him just like they do whether it was Lincoln Chafee or Bill Weld or any of these other terrible Bob Barr, terrible non-libertarian people who are slightly less fascist than the GOP or Democrat counterparts. And so they think this is the greatest thing. But then let somebody who's in the Libertarian Party, who's been grinding their ass off for 20 years as a member of the party, who's an actual activist, anarchist, minarchist, true libertarian, let them say one thing that isn't like the wokest shit possible, and they will try to run them out of town, and then they'll bring Mitt Romney in to run as a libertarian because name recognition. I'm not even joking. This is the problem with the Libertarian Party.
So they're not really about the shits then. Like they're not like
some people in there.
Well, yes, I can say
that's why the Mises folks are trying to change things.
Yeah, this is why there's an effort to overthrow that and to push the insanity that brings that retardation into the party at the expense of real libertarians, and then looks at everybody who isn't. I don't know. It's like if you're not okay with a bunch of people doing a bunch of weird shit in your neighborhood and in your front yard, then you must be the worst thing ever, even though you're a complete libertarian. And you just have like some personal views on certain things. Like, nope, that's it. You can't. Nope, doesn't matter. Oh, you worked for Raytheon? Yeah, come right in.
Yeah, for sure.
So it sounds like self-sabotage to me. Not it's like self-sabotage.
Oh yeah.
Like,
There's some of that
for sure.
Co-opted.
Yeah, the former head is an agent. I'm not sure which of the letters. I did too.
You got that letter?
Yeah, I did. My whole family got it. My little girl got that letter. Because she was a member of the party.
Saying the Mises Caucus and their alt-right masters. I'm like,
right.
Masters?
Yeah.
Like
we
had Michael Heiss on here.
Right.
What did he tell us?
Right.
What did he tell us? We talked about it's about character. Right. Character matters.
Right.
And it doesn't do us any good to take over the party, so to speak, if you want to use that language, to take the party over and be no better than the assholes who have been running the party. So we need to be better.
Yeah.
And we need to invite people who are in good faith working with us and acting in good faith to try to make the world better. Yeah. And people like that asshat who used to be the chair
sidewalk
have that kind of shit to say. Yeah, sidewalk. Anyway, digression over. Let's move on.
So I guess we'll just end Nicco's article with don't trust government. If they promise you they're going to lower the cost on anything, that means they've raised the cost on about 20. So, so be very, very careful when they make promises and look, the number one thing I think we should do is look past the right now gain. Yes, it would be good for a lot of people to not have to pay a bunch of money for the $7 that it takes in Mexico. It would be better to get closer to that in this country. Absolutely, that is true. But government never has no cost. And we have to remember that when you add government, you always add cost, and you have to. There is no way to like introduce a group of people that now manage something without cost. It can't happen. So I think that's a good.
You're just going to pay those people with magical fairy dust again,
right? For sure.
Oh shit, man.
So
all right,
I guess
you ready for yours?
Sure. So where this came from is that I was, we were early in the week, and I was like, okay, we got to have some articles for this week. Will Smith just beat the shit out, or just smacked the shit out of Chris Rock, so they got to be covering some shit up. So I went looking.
I was wondering, like, what y'all distract from this?
Right. So I went looking, and I didn't.
I was told by someone that I'm stupid for thinking that it could be a distraction. Like, okay.
Yeah. That person was wrong. but so I went looking, and to be honest, there was not anything obvious. That doesn't mean there wasn't anything out there, because we just couldn't find it. I couldn't find it on a perusal of what they were covering up, but something did get covered up. I'm certain of it. But one of the things that went through that was on the docket for Congress this week was this. It is the Voluntary Fighters Exemption Act that would legalize volunteer U.S. citizens fighting as soldiers in Ukraine against the Russian invasion. So I'm going to start getting into that, and then we can discuss where this is going to go.
Yeah.
So, so just to kind of start with, and I jumped too far on my copy because I can't read what's on the screen.
Okay.
So it starts off with, should we be rushing to enact this bill? And I was like, shut up. Stop doing some dumb shit. But anyway, should we be rushing to enact this bill, or should we take our time mulling it over? And
mulling it over, yeah, I get it. That's We're talking about this guy, Mark Wayne Mullen.
Yeah. So within days of Russia invading Ukraine in late February, people from all around the world volunteered to help defend the country against Vladimir Putin and his significantly larger military. By early March, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky claimed that 16,000 such fighters had already arrived in his country, though the exact number was unsubstantiated. How many of them are American? Despite the State Department issuing a level 4 red alert advisory against traveling to the country, the highest such level, the Ukrainian embassy told Military Times in early March that 3,000 U.S. citizens had already volunteered to fight in Ukraine. So I want to stop there. I saw this in my family. We have a very good friend who's very libertarian-ish. His name's Nathan. He's a great dude. Not my son, another Nathan. It's Amber's cousin. And was a big Ron Paul supporter, huge gun guy, and typically pretty libertarian. Mm-hmm. And he was like, I think I might go volunteer to go over and do this shit. And I'm like, man, I thought you saw the propaganda. But so the idea is that these people can't defend themselves. That's what they're trying to do so far, is they're trying to say, okay, aren't we together with them? Like, come on. Do you not see where that's going? Anyway, however, a law both bans Americans from fighting on behalf of another nation's military, with the exemption of 1,000 U.S. citizens serving in Israel's military, and also bans Americans from fighting against another nation in a military capacity, unless the U.S. is at war with that other country. In 1896, in the 1896 decision, Weiberg versus U.S., the U.S. Supreme Court limited that illegality to organizing military groups or enlisting the U.S. and then going elsewhere to fight. Under current judicial precedent, individuals going to another country on their own to fight is apparently fine. This explains why throughout U.S. history, volunteers have fought everywhere from Mexico to Central America to Africa without facing legal consequences. Still, some would rather the actual text of the federal law change. That's a lot of nonsense to say we've had this law for a long time and we don't follow it.
We don't follow it anyway, so what fucking difference does it make?
Right, which is exactly what they said about propaganda. To go off of this a little bit, this reminds me of the propaganda article. Most people don't understand that in 2011, Barack Obama rescinded an act that we had against propaganda in this country. And I saw a marked difference. You can say that it didn't matter. They were using propaganda before 2011 anyway. And all they did was just take that away, but it increased because people by nature are afraid to break the law.
Facts.
So what this will do is it will legalize being, if they pass this. And to be clear, and I don't want to go too much into the weeds with the details on it, but more or less what it would do is that it would make it legal if you joined the military or did not join the military to go fight for another country. Mm-hmm. People might say, well, but the Ukrainians need us. What? They need us, guys.
That's not, like, are people not, like, cognitively, like, coherent of the situation? Right. Like, you would literally throw your whole life away for a place that has not given a fuck about you.
Right.
And it's not that, I'm not saying that, like, they don't need our help. Keep your ass at home, please. Just like,
where was this love for the Haitians, for the Rwandans?
Y'all rounded us up with horses, dog, at the border, and lassos and whips. I'm surprised y'all didn't come with heavy gold chains for us to bling us out when you deported us. Like, come on, fam.
So what I see in this myself is it's going to fail. It's not going to pass. But it is laying the groundwork, like we just talked about with Nicco's article that he talked about. They're laying the groundwork to introduce this over and over and over again, and they do that frequently. To give an example of how they've done that, in I believe it was 1994, the Patriot Act was introduced into Congress the very first time by Joe Biden, and and they waited until they had the opportunity to bring it in to lock people down. This is going to lay the framework for a globalist agenda. And I know I sound like Alex Jones. I don't care. The frogs are fucking gay, dude. What's going on? What's going on?
Bro, where's it? Pull that meme up. Where's it at? Where's it at?
I don't have it handy.
But, I'm going to find it. Hang on. Go ahead.
But what they're doing is they're laying the framework and laying the groundwork for a UN. It probably won't be called a UN army, but it will be a
NATO army or something like that.
NATO army, something where it will be composed of global people, because they are trying to get away from, as much as I'm an anarchist, being a nationalist is better than being a communist. And yeah, and so what they're doing.
No. Stop it.
What they're doing.
I'm trying to remove myself from this damn screen. Hang on. Get off of there. All right. Sorry, my bad.
That's okay. What they're doing is they're setting the groundwork to have a international army. And the purpose of that is to remove sovereignty. If it's an international army and you're fighting for the UN or NATO or whoever that is, that brings that tribalism that they've been training you all of your life when you were in school and when you were taking this team over that team and all of that stuff. It turns that on its head, because now that they have the ability to use you in an army anywhere, that your team is now the UN. So when they need to use you, super male vitality, but so when they're doing it, that's what they're doing. They're setting up the groundwork so that when Nicco, when they need to bring the UN into Chicago because y'all are getting crazy with your guns,
running guns like Marcus.
Right, for sure. When you're going crazy and fighting against the powers that are trying to enslave you, it will be okay for Francois from France and I don't know,
racist.
Colonel. I know
it's
Colonel
not Francois just because he's from France,
right?
Yeah, we do not appreciate that. Stop it.
Right, and Colonel Klink from Germany, and then your buddy from down the road are all going to be standing there in UN uniforms, enslaving the people of Chicago, because that's where that's going. And so when they, you can say, even if you support what's going on in the Ukraine right now, even if you think that is a good idea, you have got to see that where that can go, because if they're going to use them there, they're going to use them in Poland, they're going to use them in Yemen, they're going to use them wherever it is, until finally they have a banner that is light blue and they will be uninterested in helping people all over the world.
And therefore, they lose their sense of their own tribe, and they're all the way enslaved and fucked by the government.
Right.
And not for nothing, it's always been said that there's no way the people who volunteer to go and serve in the U.S. military or the police or anything like that would ever just turn on the American citizenry. So this whole Second Amendment thing is like kind of a weird thing anyway, because you really think like that the military is gonna be down with that, coming house to house and like rounding people up and all this other kind of stuff. Well, it's possible that like the old school, like I got family and friends and stuff like that who they wouldn't do that shit for. Now, here's the thing: it had to be the right scenario, right? For the most part, they're not rounding people up. The good old boys from Texas, Kentucky, Alabama, whatever. upstate New York and places where they're out in the rural areas and they're like just good old folks who they're just doing that because they believe in what America once used to be, at least in our imagination. We if you read the Patriot Report by Hotep Jesus, you will find that America was kind of fucked from the beginning because this shit goes back like, I don't know, 1,000 years.
They played this on its head on purpose.
The same families and bankers have been running the world and orchestrating all this shit from the beginning, and like we just kind of got fed like a line that like this was something different somehow. We were free-ish, and not all of us were free. Not all, and
some people had to wear the necklaces, the chain ones,
right? So,
the heavy
but here's the thing: if you've watched, and that's why it's so funny that Jeremy Kaufman put that ad out. That shit was hilarious. Where we're gonna just start dropping, certain kinds of bombs on people and everything. I don't think it's a mistake, an accident, a coincidence that the military is moving into this diversity realm where they've got the multicolored flag as part of the, they put it on their logo and shit for the Department of Defense and NASA and all this other kind of shit.
Wait,
I wonder if we're not going to see at some point, because this is the, I'm trying to be really careful. There's an agenda. There's an agenda afoot that took to the streets in the summer of 2020 that had some influences that were not. Trey Quinn was on here and talked about it. You had the Antifas, you had the alphabets, and all this stuff that if it had its way, it would round up regular people. They were going to people's houses, and they had a man, he came out and said, I support you guys. Look at my Biden flag. They told that white man, I don't give a fuck about your Biden flag. We're going to burn your house down too.
Yeah.
That's fucked.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
that's fucked.
So when that's what ends up in the military and that's what ends up on the police force, because it's moving more and more in that direction, it's becoming more and more
aggressive.
Tilted. The scales are tilted in that direction. Whereas the military and the police force used to be the the old redneck bedrock conservative type, that was, now granted, that came with its own baggage of racism and all kind of other, power trippy kind of shit. But what you're going to have with is you're still going to have all the power trippy shit, but now it's going to be this sort of like anti-American, we're here for the global agenda that supported us and supported all of our rights and all this other stuff and pushed for UBI and whoever's funding them with their goodies, that's who's coming knocking on your door.
You don't think they're gonna drop like flies before that?
I don't know.
I think
I would have to say that like majority of them are most definitely jabba-domed up.
Yeah, well, they have to be. That was actually my point too, Nicco, that I was about to make, is that they had a obedience test recently, and the ones that because they were serious, the ones that passed the and said no, I ain't getting that shit. They kicked them the fuck out.
Yeah, that's true.
Yep.
But
that's a good point. That's a good point too, and that's the people. So if you think about it, the people who failed that test in our mind, passed the test in the mind of the oligarchs, they are going to be the ones who are going to be like, oh, I remember you didn't like the test. So you're one of those bad people. These are the people who were reporting you on Facebook and who were reporting you on Twitter and saying you were spreading misinformation, and they had their little circle around them telling you we can do this, and all this other kind of bullshit, and disinformation and misinformation is deadly and all this other kind of bullshit. Misinformation is medley. It's anyway, that the way that the U.S. military and the police force and everything has been altered into this new woke world order agenda.
True.
I definitely think that we all need to be prepared that they absolutely will come to your door and round you up.
Yeah, and to your point, Nicco, I mean, and frankly, to Chad's point as well, I can't fucking watch TV. Cannot watch TV without this agenda. It's not just the military. You know, when the other night,
I just thought the military was like not untouchable, but I was like, damn, that went fast.
Right. Well, for me, I expected them to capitulate because most of those people are brainwashed anyway. I'm sorry, it's true.
Yeah, but I'm saying they're brainwashed. It's been more of like a masculine, very like hardcore, all about like fitness and like being, you know what I mean? Like you had to be like top of the top to be able to survive. And
now they push the fitness test.
Now it's like
20 push-ups.
Yeah,
and shit like that. Come on now.
Weird now. Yeah. It's weird.
So I first want to preface all of this. Okay, I am a guy who does not care if you're gay. I do not care if you're transgender. I think that transgender's a thing. Believe it or not, I think that's a real thing. I think there are people that are different and that on the inside they might be girls and they were born boys. I think all that shit's real. I think that black people are cool. I think that women are equal to men. Now they do different things. I think all that shit's true. That is me. That's who I am. That's who I'm always going to be. I don't believe in force and I don't believe in coercion. But other than that, I don't care what the fuck you do. I don't care. That's your business. Do what you want to do. But when I'm going on Netflix trying to watch a fucking documentary on pleasure, and I'm getting to find out how, and within the first episode of this documentary, because it's a series of this documentary, I get to find out how it's all because heterosexual men have destroyed the entire world within the first thing. Heterosexual men are the reason that no one has any pleasure anymore. And then later on, same episode, I get to find out that white men are the really bad ones.
Y'all are
white men. I know we are constantly fucking destroying the ability for women to have pleasure. So they know,
terrible.
Right? They know that they are absolutely programming people with a particular agenda. I can't watch that shit. I almost couldn't watch Picard, which pissed me off because I'm a nerd and I love Star Trek. So. But they know that they're doing it. They are absolutely tearing down the notion that this country is worth a shit. And it is something that Amber said recently. And this article is a perfect example of how they're doing it. The difference between Donald Trump, and I am not a Trump supporter, I want to make that clear, but the difference between Donald Trump and Joe Biden is really simple. Donald Trump was a piece of shit who cared about his money, and that is all he cared about. That is all he wanted. Joe Biden's a sellout who works for fucking China. That motherfucker is taking this shit down on purpose. He is an enemy in the seat. He is not a bad person in the seat. He is not a greedy person in the seat. He is an evil, manipulated piece of shit who works for Klaus Schwab and the fucking Chinese government. Fuck that dude. And they are ramping this up with an enemy in the seat. So all of this is on purpose. And the purpose...
Aquarian Anarchy.
Right.
It was fun while it lasted.
Oh yeah, it was great.
We enjoyed our channel. Thank you, YouTube, for letting us have this channel.
It was great, boy.
It was great.
It was great.
Great while it lasted. But did you get us set up for Odyssey to have all our streams?
Right. See us on Odyssey next week. No,
I was gonna say, like, the only thing that's so, like, as white men, we kind of get blamed for everything.
Yeah, you patriarchal assholes.
As black men, I think it's even worse. I think
we going through it
because the only black man that they find any value in is a dead one. So like it's crazy. Like they'll stand on your dead body and give their speech, and that's about it. And then after, like Jesus said, after they're done with you, they throw you away like an empty clip.
Right. Yeah,
and then
for sure.
they make organizations over your dead body and make hundreds of thousands of millions of dollars on top of your dead body, and then your family not compensated for shit. And the people who created it get to duck off in their Lambos.
They can duck off, all right.
Hey, but don't shoot me for this question, but what's up with the Space Force? I'm low key like interested with like Space Force and want to see if like
the Netflix series or
no. I'm talking about getting in the spacesuit and seeing what's up to the moon, man. Like,
yeah, I don't know, man.
They must have found oil on the moon. It's what's going on. Now,
because it's I think with them putting that on Netflix, like they're blatantly showing you what's going to happen. Like I just can't stop. Like, maybe I'm like a little broken up here, but like everything that I watch is like, oh, that's what you're hiding. Oh, this is what you're telling me. Oh, sure. That's what I'm seeing. So I think I have to watch this show Space Force to really like kind of get a gist of what.
You have to see what part of it's a documentary and what's like. Okay, so I know this is a documentary. Just like Idiocracy, you know. Remember, Idiocracy was like
Idiocracy is the best documentary.
It is a documentary, bro.
Yeah, for sure.
The Borg agenda. Okay, all right.
Now, I think the final thing to go to the Borg, really, Nicco, what they're trying to do is they're trying to sell more Americans on joining a military branch, and they're trying to sell, to use the Star Trek analogy, they're trying to sell Starfleet. They're trying to sell that you're going to be joining this ultra good, works for the people group, and what you're going to get is the Borg, and that's where it's at. Is that, you know, we have been sold G.I. Joe when it comes to the military, where the enemy is jumping out of planes and parachuting to safety, and what they have is more like the stormtroopers from Star Wars.
Word, yeah, or from that other place, the earliest version of the Azov Battalion. Yeah, sure. They also had stormtroopers.
Right.
Oh shit. All right. So before we go on to my article, it's time. We're an hour in. Y'all don't forget, what do you have to do when you're part of this broadcast? You got to like, you got to share, you got to subscribe. 2 shares to speed the spread. Never forget it. Hit that sub. If you aren't already a subscriber, hit that subscription. And when you share this with somebody, tell them to go ahead and subscribe too, because we got the dopest episodes. And Nicco, what's the last thing, but the most important thing that anybody can do to support this show?
Hey, y'all know how like I gotta pay for groceries, but no link card. Yeah, you use that fiat, that dollar. We also don't discriminate. We do take Bitcoin. We do.
We take it.
We appreciate everything that you guys do for us, but you know what? Money talk. Chris Tucker talk too, but money talk as well. We love y'all, and please bless us with $1 or $2. And I'm not doing nothing strange for a piece of change, but I'll talk for $1. For
but what about $5?
Oh, but that $5 is like a Patreon thingy that you can join. And with this Patreon thingy, we got a whole bunch of dope ass people. But the thing is that you wouldn't know because you're not a part of it. So if you want to be a part of it, please join this Patreon for that $1, $2, $3, $4, $5. Thank you very much.
That's right.
Right. And I also want to encourage people to go to the store. Got a new design, which I like.
Oh, big fat.
I'm getting that one, bro. I'm getting that one.
That's
top right there.
Yeah, I like
get that on the bucket hat. That would be dope.
Oh,
yeah, that would be dope. Hat. Yeah,
I can do that. So Chad, your article.
Yes, let's get into it. Hang on just a second here. That's your article. I'm almost there. All right, here we go. So the title of this article is "Why Social Media and Screen Time Can Be Bad for Children, but Rarely as Bad as Parents Fear." So I kind of want to just go through and shred this thing. There is some good info in here that I actually kind of agree with, but most of this stuff, like I think there's some spots where they missed the mark, and I want to really go in on those. So let's just go through. I'm going to try to speed through this as quickly as I can because I don't want to miss anything because I didn't like annotate this to get notes or anything. But here we go. Every modern parent has the screen time worry. It's hard not to feel guilty when you put your toddler in front of an iPad so you can get some washing done, or let them watch endless loops of bizarre YouTube videos of someone playing with Thomas the Tank Engine toys or Elsa dolls. All right, why are you doing that? And if you do it at all, why? Because I've seen this. I've been to basketball games and stuff like that where like people, their kids have their phone and they're just like running around in the stands with it. And
because
just, like,
they're okay with somebody else doing something for them and their kids.
They never like put it down. Like it's like it's attached to them.
It's on their hip. That's
they're
their
not
new arm.
They're never, that little kid is like 1, maybe 2. And they're just staring at this screen. Like, why are you even having them look at a screen at all at that age?
Have them be bored.
Have them have a
basketball game.
No, they need fine motor skills. They need to have like some tactile. They need to have a toy that they can manipulate with their hands and everything. Anyway, all right. My own kids are slightly older, and now the concern has morphed into how long the 8-year-old spends playing FIFA on the Switch, or whether Disney Plus princess programs the 6-year-old stares at are age appropriate. Newsflash: they are not. Because if there's anyone who is trying to push this agenda on you, it is the fucking Disney Plus people. So get ready. They just had a new, this is so sad. Yeah. Pixar just put out a new show. It's called Turning Red or something like that. So
I'll bet Turning Red.
I'm
turning red with a sickle.
No, it's turning red. It's turning red as in like the time of the month thing for a pubescent girl.
How about I teach my kids that shit?
And it's exactly, and it's a Pixar animated movie. One of my wife's coworkers watched that with her son, who's in like 3rd grade, and had no idea that's what it was going to be about. And like the mom is like showing up with tampons at the kid's school and everything, and embarrassing the girl in front of all her classmates and all this stuff. And just like,
that should be something like focused on like women, like girls. I go, a boy doesn't really need to worry about that until growing up older. Like,
what are you talking about, man? What men bleed too? I saw the picture.
Oh God, bro! I saw one the other day. They had this dude who was in the. They said something about how he was in the tub with the
with his birthing
when the baby was born with the surrogate and somebody was like, no. That was the kid's mother, and you kicked the kid's mother out of the tub and called her a surrogate. And what the fuck were you doing there in the first place when you have shit to do with it? Anyway, it was wild. It's one of these things where like they had their little, I don't know. Anyway, it was like this. Anyway. It reminds me of Pete Buttigieg and whatever his name. They have like the two of them in hospital gowns, laying in the hospital bed with the newborn baby. Like, were you in a bed for? You didn't do shit. You just showed up and they gave you a baby. That some other woman had to like
wearing his butt out.
Man,
the other dude's got it. Well, what it is, they both put the gown on, and Buttigieg, because his name is Buttigieg, he's got the back end open. The other dude's got the front open, and that's why they were in the gowns.
Stop, man. They got him on back. He got his on backwards.
Right.
All right. Anyway, all right. This does not, as I understand it, get easier with time. Facts. It does not. It gets a little easier if you do a good job of raising your kids, because then your kids like. They'll see stuff when they have their own things or whatever, and you give them a little bit of freedom, and my kids will be like, yo, Dad, look at this. Isn't this some nut shit? Stuff like that and everything. So I'm fortunate. All of my kids, I guess we did a good job. We also got, we're fortunate as well, because I know that there are some other parents who they do a really good job too, but the kids just have a mind of their own and it goes off the rails. But, anyway, all of my kids, they're not down with this shit. So anyway, it says, at least our children are still too young to have seriously started demanding phones of their own. We have a rule. You don't get a phone until you're 13 here. That's probably still young for a lot of people. And I understand that. Like if you think I'm out of control for letting my kids have a phone at 13. I get it. I'm not even going to argue with you because it probably is.
I had a Razor, so it's
where,
like,
yeah, that's a little different though. No, this is like an iPhone or whatever. But I get it, and I actually kind of agree. This is the compromise that we landed on, where it's like, this is because all their friends get them at like 9, and so making them wait 4 years for theirs, I think is long enough for them to be the pariah of, their friend group or whatever, that is like, bro, you seriously still don't have a phone? Like, we're all calling each other and go, like they're out somewhere and they're anyway. So I get it. Matter of fact, my youngest one is he's 12. He turns 13 next week, or week after next. And I have been hearing about it for the last month. Like, he's ready. He is counting the days until he gets his phone. So anyway,
that's so cool.
I want to throw my 2 cents in there real quick, Chad. So so I have a rule that very similar. If at 13 Anya can pull this off, she can have herself a phone. And if she's 11 right now. If she can pull this off today, she can have a phone today. The rule for me is if you can buy it. If you can buy that phone, if you can pay for it, if you can pay for the subscription, if you can do all that, you can have you one. If you can't, sorry about you. And grandma buying it ain't going to get you the subscription. So guess what? As soon as you can pay for it, you can have one. I ain't paying for shit.
It's an iPod if it's
right.
Yeah. So all right. Confession. So my son, my oldest son, did this so he was, I don't know, he was young. I think it took a couple of birthdays and Christmas. He told everybody, he's like, I just want money. And he raised the money. We walked into the Apple store. He was like, I don't know, 7 or 8 years old or something like that. He walked in there with like $675 cash. Wow. And just went up and he was like, I want that iPad. Boom. And that was it. And I was like, you know what? We're still gonna have some rules around like how much you get to use it, and like at night we have a thing where computer was always like in a room where like we could see what was going on. Like the office was like, you could see down the hall and you could see the screen from where you were or whatever. Because we just people, sometimes it's not even like bad motives by the kid. The kid can just end up somewhere where they shouldn't be. And they can see stuff that you can't unsee. Yeah. And then it starts to
destroy things.
Right. But that too. Yeah, they can mess shit up.
Just to throw it in there, Chad, when my oldest son was 12, we did not have a computer that was away. Like, you were very responsible. We were not very responsible. And next thing you know, he's typing into his search engine on Google, 16-year-old naked girl. And what do you know? We got a virus. So
oh my God.
Destroyed an entire computer. So I feel you.
Oh, well, no, I'm talking about like, yeah, I mean that's one of those STDs that you get. It's that kind of virus. But no, I'm talking about like, they actually have a lot of these sites where like you try to type in Disney.com and somebody has already bought the URL for Dinsey, DINSEY, in case you typo it, and it's some pedo shit. Now Disney got ahead of the curve and they just said, no, we see you working. We're going to take that over. And you'll just get the pedo shit on Disney. So they kind of
Netflix.
They kind of went that route. Yeah. But anyway, so yeah, he threw down his own cash. But we had that rule, and then we had the other rule was like, at night you had to put it up. You didn't get to bring it to your room to to go to bed or anything like that. Because we had my son went and stayed at somebody's house one time, and they had him and another friend over, and the mom like called my wife. They were real good friends, and she called my wife. She's like talking about the other kid. She's like, I went in there and they're all asleep, and he's asleep, and he's got his iPad like next to his face, and it's still on, and it's going like just lights flashing and all this, and it's like like there you have to kind of have like a little detox period before you go to sleep.
Yeah.
Because that shit, like, it'll keep you awake, or it does shit to your subconscious. it's really not healthy. And that kid was like, I don't know, 9 or something like that, going to sleep with the iPad just like overstimulating him the whole time. And it was basically just like his body gave out. That's why he fell asleep. Because if his body hadn't given out, he'd probably still been awake at 3 o'clock in the morning watching the damn iPad. But what it was, the noise woke her up. She's like, what the fuck is that noise? She went in there and he's asleep with this shit. Just anyway. All right, let's continue with the article. It will not be long in the grand scheme of things before they are using TikTok or whatever has succeeded it by then to interact with their friends. Social media, a catch-all term for everything from WhatsApp DM groups to YouTube, is a central part of modern adolescence. In recent years, there's been a growing concern that screen time is harming young people's mental health. Social media in particular worries parents, whether it's by creating a new avenue for children to bully each other or by presenting unrealistic images of happy lives and perfect bodies. That's like, they keep bringing up all these things. And then the article is like, but it's not as bad as you think. No, like all of those things are bad things.
Terrible.
Comparing yourself to somebody's bullshit pictures that everybody on social media is only going to show you the shit that they want to show you. Yep. So you're never going to see the pictures of them laying on the bed depressed for a week and a half.
Yep.
You're only going to see whenever they go to some island or something like that. Because I get my wife and my daughter are like, look at these people. They're in Aruba. These people are in Turks and Caicos this weekend. I'm like, cool. I ain't got that kind of money.
Right. Sorry about you. We're poor.
Y'all are expensive as it is. Shit.
Right.
Maybe if y'all weren't so damn expensive, I could go to Turks and Caicos by myself. But anyways, it says every so often, widely publicized studies come out that seem to find worrying trends. Studies that, for instance, find that depression, self-harm, and suicide and unhappiness all increased dramatically in U.S. adolescents, especially girls and young women, after 2012. That study explicitly links the rise to social media. These fears.
I got to interrupt you, man. That sounds like that fucking the we were talking about a few weeks ago with Hotep with it. It sounds like the side effects. It's like
right.
In a few years, it's gonna say Facebook may cause suicide, may cause suicide thoughts, man. You know, at the end when you log on to Facebook, you're gonna have to listen to this fucking this 10-minute thing.
Well, they had that whole Social Dilemma documentary series, or not series, but I think it was just one long episode or whatever. It might have been a series on Netflix about, and they talk about how their algorithm, like specifically notices how long you stay on a page, on an image, what you're looking at. Like it reads your eyes in your face, your facing camera and stuff like that. Does all these very it's gathering metadata. It's gathering metadata for other stuff, but that's like very intrinsic private data that it is using, and then it turns around and uses it against you. And so now it's sending you specific content that will
stimulate you.
Right, but it hyper stimulates you. It puts things, it makes it to where when it creates this hyper siloing effect. It makes people more extremist. It makes people more either manic or depressed, because you're either hyper or you're like you're seeing more stuff that's negative that depresses you, or the hyper stuff when it goes away that depresses you. Am I glitching? I see like my camera seems like it's kind of, well, it looked like it was. But anyway, so that's been kind of my experience with what I've seen from and what the studies that even Facebook, there people were talking about, like, this is problematic about this algorithm. Like it's given us data and we're using it in ways that we don't know if we're comfortable with. And like, well, that should tell you something, right? Like if you don't know if you're comfortable with it, maybe you ought to not do it.
Yeah.
And
just on privacy though.
Sponsors.
Yeah, just on privacy, Chad. If you want to, you can in most of the social media, if you choose to, you can turn off. I did this with Facebook, which is the first place you can turn off their ability to get to your camera. What is fun is, I don't know if it works for Apple, but it does work for Android. My phone will tell me if a app that I did not give permission to accesses my phone. So randomly, Facebook would send me about once a week a little notification that said Facebook has accessed your phone,
your camera,
or accessed your camera. Yeah. So do the experiment. It's fun. At least it was. I don't have Facebook because they can.
No, I mean I have all that stuff turned, but I'm saying like there are a lot of people who they use it, and especially like Snapchat and Instagram. I see these people in the airport and stuff like that, or wherever else. I saw one time I was in the airport, and I'm not joking. I'm sitting there by myself, and I looked at my phone a couple of times and everything, and I didn't know that this Snapchat shit was as big as it was or whatever. This was like probably 7 or 8 years ago. I saw this chick. She's sitting there. She's literally doing this. She's sitting there. She's like, for like a half hour. And what she was doing is she was like trying all these different filters, and she was taking these little pictures with her mouth a certain way and like checking the lighting and all this other kind of bullshit and everything. So when you have those kind of apps, those kinds of social media providers, people give them access to their camera on purpose so that they can use those filters and all that other bullshit. So that's a whole different ball game. I have all that stuff set up. I even have, like with Telegram, I have it to where every time I want to like send y'all a video clip or a meme or something like that, I have to go in and say like, okay, manage the media that it's allowed to look at. Okay, look, get this one picture out of this one album and then move it over here so that I can send it to them. So I have to do that every time. I can't just go to my photo library every time because I have it set up to where that shit's restricted on purpose. Now, the funny part about that is once you have all that shit on your phone, once all those things are installed on your phone and everything, you might think that you're perfectly protected, but that's only the shit that they tell us.
The device itself is the fucking psyop. Like even like HJ said it best. It's like it doesn't matter if you have an iPhone or Android. It don't matter if that bitch is ghost unless you get that John McAfee chip. Your ass is out there. Like you are utterly exposed, and all of your information, even if you do your best encryptions, there's people sitting down at their desk that don't even stand up to go piss, hacking at your shit. And
tell me about it. Anyway,
but yeah,
another story for another day. But yeah, so moving right along here, these fears have led to all sorts of reactions, from major articles with headlines like "Has Smartphones Destroyed a Generation?" to Sunday Times investigations suggesting that social media is behind a rise in teen suicides. In 2018, the then Health Secretary Matt Hancock even compared the risk of social media to the well-established dangers of eating too much sugar. Worries like this are partly behind legislation like the Online Harms Bill, currently working its way through Parliament. This is a UK article, by the way, so there's going to be some UK references here.
Sure.
But what's been difficult has been getting good scientific evidence that screen time in general, or social media in particular, are causing these harms. So the field has been left open to speculation and fear-mongering. This week, a study came out in the journal Nature Communications. It tried to answer some questions. Anyway, I'm going to skip ahead because they go through a bunch of different things. Okay, this is good. This part's good. Screens are not one thing. Social media and screen time are pretty useless terms, says Pete Etchells, a professor of psychology at Bath Spa University, who's writing a book about our relationship with screens and technology. I don't disagree with that notion, because I do think social media means so many different things, and they're not all equal. Yeah. They're not all the same. And that screen time isn't all the same. So he says his point is that screen time isn't a simple thing. It could include Skyping family members, or playing Mario Kart with friends over the internet, or watching the match of the day, or watching hardcore porn. These things are not like each other, and social media isn't much better. Me doom scrolling through Twitter is not the same as a teenager making TikTok memes, or a 65-year-old posting on a neighborhood Facebook group. More than that, mental health isn't a simple thing. I would sort of disagree in a certain sense with this one, because I do think there's some similarities. Like we were talking about, all that comparing yourself to other people has been hyper realized in the social media world, where even the 65-year-old posting in a neighborhood Facebook group is still falling victim to the dopamine response and all that other bullshit that comes with comparing yourself to other people, not being satisfied with yourself or with pumping yourself up to try to show people something, and then knowing that you're faking it and living with the dissonance that exists in that in between space where you actually live, you know?
Right.
So more than that, mental health isn't a simple thing either. Are we talking about psychological well-being, which is something like how happy or sad you're feeling, or how satisfied you are with your life, as reported in a questionnaire? If you look at 100 different papers in the area, you'll find people talking about 100 different things. So some people say it's panic-inducing to realize the vast scope of what we're trying to do. You ask a seemingly simple question. There's this technology out there. How's it affecting your mental health? But it's all a big mess. So they get into a lot of stuff about like asking those questions and trying to drill down to like the actual details. I do think though, like going back to what was said earlier, if you see a rise in suicide starting around 2012, and then Peter Kraft, one of my, I don't know, my philosophical founding fathers, you know, the way he described it is if you look, there's a direct correlation, and this is striking, a direct correlation between the wealth level in a particular country, in a particular area, and the suicide rate. Like third world countries, really poor people don't commit suicide like really rich people do. Because you can have all this shit, but you're still not happy. Right. Because you're filling holes in your soul with things that are incapable of filling those holes.
Yeah.
And so a lot of times that's where I think some of this stuff lands, and then it goes into different age ranges, and like how they did this big study that had how much 72,000 people, and so they were able to drill down like year by year almost with a lot of this stuff, and like not lumping all adolescents together and all that stuff. So then it goes into cause and effect. I'm skipping through some of this because I don't want to read it word for word because it might take all night. So it says, second part of the study tried to give an insight into what was causing what. As we discussed, it's easy to imagine that unhappier people spend more time on social media rather than social media driving unhappiness. So they were saying that, like in that other study, that there's this correlation between unhappiness and social media use, but they were saying it kind of becomes a chicken and egg conversation, because people who are happy on their own and everything may not spend as much time on social media because they're too busy doing the stuff that makes them happy and being a part of real relationships with people. Whereas people who spend more time on social media may have already been unhappy before they used it, and that's why they're using it. So I get that. I mean, that actually isn't terrible. And it's good information to find out. But what I would argue is that the advent of social media, when it didn't exist, you had to, instead of replacing your lack of interpersonal communication and connection with people in real life, you didn't have the option to replace that with something else. So you had to find a way to create those connections and find people you could depend on, people you cared about, who you could care about. And there was growth in that. But you go instead to social media, where then what you're fed with is a bunch of fairy tale bullshit all the time,
not real relationships,
or all this other kind of shit. I can't help but think that it drives the wheel in the wrong direction. Anyway,
I think that the people might not like this analogy, but it's true. I think that the what they're providing with social media is masturbation versus sex.
Yes.
That's
a great analogy. That's perfect.
No matter what,
you're only screwing yourself,
right? But no matter what you do, I like my hand. It's nice, but it is not pussy. It just is not. It's a different thing, and
to that point, even all pussy's not equal. Like there's something about the person who you really, really have a deep connection with.
For sure.
And it's
Right, and you're right, and beyond the fact that the connection, the pussy's different too. Believe me, I had an ex, and I'm not going to name names, that she did not need a parachute. She could just jump out of a plane naked and float on down. Pussy is not made. It's not. Now she might whistle a bit as she goes down, but pussy is definitely not made.
How do we get
there? Gives you wings.
Right. If it gives you wings, you probably shouldn't have ate it. It's that time of month.
That's crazy. That's hilarious.
Anyway.
So, but to your point, Chad, you're right. It is different. And talking with people, one of the things that we've talked about is we'd like to get together and just have a show with the three of us live together. That would be completely different than it is now. As much as I love y'all, we would talk differently.
Absolutely.
Entirely.
I've already witnessed that at the Solutionary Summit 2 years in a row with Brody, and got to meet Sonny Johnson, got to meet Jeff Charles. I'm trying to think of got to meet Saul G and Corey. I'm trying not to leave anybody out. Olivia, Felicia. I got to see all these people in person, and it's just different. Yancey was out there in Atlanta the first time. Well, yeah, no, of course not, Maj. But I had already met Maj, in 2018 at the Libertarian National Convention. But no, that it is a different vibe, and especially and Trisha too at those events. So it's a different vibe that you get. Ebony too. The names are just coming. The names are just coming. I want to do everybody right, Tim came out to the Hotep Nation weekend. We met all the, Jonesy was there, all the, Taylor and everybody. It's a whole different feeling when you get to sit face to face with people, and you get to do it on over a series of days where you're going to have 30 minutes here, an hour there, a couple hours here, and you get to have a different level of conversation where there are a lot of different guards that are down. The other thing too, look, we can do all this stuff, and y'all know we even have different conversations when we go off air.
Absolutely.
True.
Because we know we're just talking to us, and we know we don't have to hold back anything.
Yeah, the parameters.
And I'm not saying we love y'all. We love everybody in the audience.
We just don't want to get banned.
It's just, it ain't y'all. If we had y'all in the room, we'd talk the same to y'all as we talk to each other.
Right.
It's just that the whoever's it is that runs the tubes, the tubes, they come for necks, and Marcus already has them coming after us with his rant earlier. But
super male vitality.
Yeah. I've said my piece too that could probably get us banned, but no, it is. It's a whole different. It's just a whole different vibe and level of connection. It's just different. And my wife and I were talking about this. She had an issue with she's quitting her job. She got a new job. It's awesome. It's so much better than what she was doing before. And y'all knew all the stuff that was going on before around that and everything. That was a big part of it. But then there's some other stuff. She's actually starting something really cool. It was her idea, and she actually found somebody who was moving in the direction of something like that, but didn't really have a way to describe it or to execute it. And my wife just kind of filled that, because this person's not an educator. Right. They have money and an idea. And she was
needed an educator.
This is the idea, and y'all need me to run it or whatever. So it's homeschooling, but it's like micro schooling, where they have you get in, instead of you having to do it yourself, you have a curriculum that you follow, and it could be YouTube type stuff or anything like that, or any of these other online type curricula. But you have somebody like my wife who is there to check in and keep you accountable and help you work through different things, and guide and build the curriculum for you and direct the learning to make sure that you get all the things that you're looking to get out of it. And it's a lot more one-on-one type stuff. Well, anyway, she was having this issue with her current boss, and she emailed her. She got an email back. And as you know, when you start emailing or texting people, tone of voice completely missing.
Yep. Right.
Context is different.
Mhm.
And it got to a point where she was like, we need to meet face to face, because we're talking past each other. We're misinterpreting each other. You're inferring things that I'm not implying, and vice versa. Right. And let's just go sit and talk to each other. They ended up talking on the phone, and I think it went over okay. But we were talking about, like, even on the phone, it's not the same. And even like this, it's not the same as being in person, where you occupy the same space. But even this is infinitely better than just talking on the phone, and way better than talking via text or email or something like that.
Yeah,
because
for sure.
I can see your eyes, I can see your facial reactions, I can see and I can hear in the tone of your voice. If you know what I mean. And so, like, you can start to read that, like, before you even finish what you're saying. And you're like, okay, let me make sure you understand. This is not what I'm not saying this. I'm saying that. You know what I mean? So,
well, I would
you text
also
some shit, and somebody just takes it and runs with whatever the fuck their imagination thinks it is. What were you gonna say, Nicco?
I would like to kind of like bring this idea to, or reference it to the article. If you notice, the communication between kids and of now is completely different from the communication of how, I mean, basically, I would say I would be the closest thing to the last of the generation that actually went outside and enjoyed playing, you know.
Yeah.
And we our communication is different because we're able to, like, digest it and things, while you'd have somebody who's completely engulfed and staring into space from a young age growing on. Their communication comprehension to the conversation being there in person will be altered.
Yeah, for sure. I do want to back up just briefly, though, and talk about us getting together. That would be fantastic. I hope we manage to pull that off where we can all get together. I also would like to get Jonesy there. I'd like to get lots of our friends to come hang out.
No, it's going to be the Anarch weekend.
Yeah, sure. I definitely want to do that. But the primary thing I wanted to interject is, you know, when we're doing this, you don't get to see Chad drunker and fuck and me and Nicco higher in hell. Because
if you were watching the screen for the last 30 seconds, it looked like I was drunker than hell, because my screen froze with my eyes like this. I was like half going to sleep or some
too
shit.
many of them.
It's like, what the hell? No, I just the screen froze right when I was like blinking or something. And anyway, it looked like I was high.
Chad, if we need to get you help, man.
Right, I know.
Yeah,
lay off the drugs, dude.
No, but so here's what's interesting, and I'm not saying this to try to be like I don't want to be that guy, okay?
Oh, go ahead.
Like,
be that guy.
Everybody's got good kids. Everybody's got, you know, their own reasons to be proud of their kids and everything. But I'm pretty proud of my kids. So, like, my daughter has paid her way to physical therapy school, where she wants to be. I mean, not physical, personal trainer school. It's PT. I got the wrong PT. Anyway, personal trainer school. She wants to, like, do her own gym. She's had some experiences where, as a young lady, going to work out at the gym and things like that, that she's had some encounters that have not been very safe feeling, and, you know, they've been kind of scary for her. So she wants to create something where she wants to, like, have her own gym where it'll be for young girls and or, you know, young ladies, whatever, young women, have, like, security and stuff where, like, you don't, you know, somebody will walk you to your car and make sure you're good and all that good stuff. But also that somebody like her will be building your training program and working you through all that stuff. So you're not having some 30-something-year-old man, you know, ogling you the whole time, and they're not really, you know what I mean? Like, you just feel better. You feel more secure with it that way. So that's what she's doing. Both of my boys play basketball, and my oldest one, they've been going before school at like 5:30 in the morning and going into the gym and just shooting all morning until school starts. So, like,
they're NBA star.
We still have people even in this generation that's coming up who are doing those things. And then my youngest one, he just spent the last 2 months. I don't know if y'all are familiar with what an axolotl is.
No.
It's I'm gonna pull up a little picture here.
I mean,
It's
is
a
it animal.
Yeah, it's an animal.
I think I've heard of it before.
It's an amphibian that this actually looks just like the one that he has. So here we go. Bear with me just a second. We will go here. So that's what it is. That. It's like he
has one of them.
Yeah. So he has spent. That was another one of his birthday things that he wanted to do. But he has spent the last probably 2 months getting the tank ready, like cycling it and getting all the chemical composition and everything right, putting plants in and all that stuff. So like there's other stuff besides just staring at screens all the time. And honestly, like I'll say this much, that stuff has been a big part of why I think they are like where they are in terms of feeling good about themselves, being confident in themselves, and stepping outside themselves and helping other people and trying to be the better versions of themselves and not getting caught up. Now with the whether it's the exercise stuff or the basketball stuff, you still have that stuff where you're comparing yourself to other people, you're competing with people or whatever.
Life, though. So
you can't escape that stuff. And so the social media is just a way of that being like exacerbated because it's all this fantasy type shit that you can fake it really well on social media. It's a lot harder to fake it in the gym. It's a lot harder to fake it on the court. You still compare yourselves, but at least it's real. Or at least you
have to also give credibility to their teachers, which are you and the mom.
For sure.
The values you've instilled into your kids to, be dedicated towards a craft or something along the lines of that, instilling the confidence that they do have. It's really down to the parents, like the overseers. It's genuinely down to them and what they allow themselves or how many kids they have, because sometimes your leniency depletes over children. So it's all about really like taking that time and like being one with your child, like not like forgetting about them because they have something to shut them up,
right. And that was the thing when the first part of that article where it's like we've all stuck a thing in our kids' hands so that we can get some washing done or whatever. It's like
nope.
Or you could like, I don't know how little your kid is. But like there's other stuff that they can play with. Like I don't know, my daughter was like playing in a little Fisher Price kitchen and like playing with now they had TV shit. What's that?
You know what these are? Come on, man. I know you used fingers and you've played with them to punch and run along shit. Come on now, like the imagination's a beautiful thing, and that's what it's stripping, really.
For sure.
That's what it's like. That's what it's really coming after is your imagination and kids.
Creative thinking.
Yeah.
No, in a way, like I think some of the best toys that ever existed were like Tinker Toys, Lincoln Logs, like as Legos, as cool as like G.I. Joe Men and Transformers and all that stuff were. There really wasn't a whole lot of imagination, and even Lego kind of fell victim to that. Lego now has all the custom sets that like have instructions. That's what the whole Lego movie is about. The Lego movie is actually like low key a goat movie.
Oh no,
watch that shit.
It is.
Go watch the Lego movie and tell me it's not an anarchist that wrote that.
It's fire.
Because you got to. Have you seen it, Marcus?
No, I haven't seen it.
Oh yeah,
I don't watch TV, dude. Hardly. I mean, I watch my stupid shows, but
they have, bro. It's like. They could have played I want to play the Lego movie for all the people who like tried to bully me over like mask shit and the stabby shit and everything. It's funny we haven't even like I could almost say, can I just say over the vaccine? Because like I think we're at the point now where you can say that word.
They gave us the ability to say words.
I don't know.
They allow it.
Thank you.
I won't say it again. But no, like. I want to play that movie for those folks. Be like, hey, go watch the Lego movie, and then tell me what do you think it makes you think when you think about 2020 and the Corona and all that shit. Because it's like he has these instructions of what he's supposed to do. He's like, okay, go do this, then do this, then do that, and it's like he has his whole instructions for the day, and then it's like listen to the the number one radio station,
Oh,
sing the number one song.
What the
It's
fuck
like,
is it?
everything is awesome.
Yeah.
And the song is everything is awesome. Everything is cool when you're part of a team and all this other kind of stuff. Like, it's just, and everybody's singing it. And it's just like, it's literally like the whole city, everything is all indoctrinated. Wow. And it's really well written, well put together.
No, yeah, the Lego movie's fire. It's fire.
It's really, really good.
One of the things, because I have kids that are kind of spread out, and I've gotten to see this kind of come into the consciousness, because my oldest is turning 30 this year. I feel old as shit. But anyway, I know. But so I've got, but I also have an 11-year-old, so they're spread out throughout that time, and it's much more important to Anya, which is my youngest, with all of this stuff than it ever was to any of my other kids, because they didn't have the kind of options that they have. But one of the things that's also happening is we're different as parents too. The Marcus that raised Brianna, which is my oldest, is a totally different dude than the Marcus who raised Anya. Totally different dude. So what I'm saying is that our kids are growing up in an age now where these are going to be the issues that we face. Mm-hmm. And we have to pay attention, and we have to be active parents at what they do. It isn't that Twitter is a bad thing. It is not. I use Twitter constantly. Right. It's not that Facebook is bad. It's not that YouTube is bad. Right. It is a tool, and we have to be engaged in what our kids are doing. It reminded me earlier when you were talking about the let us do this now and let us do that. I noticed, and this just happened, we went and saw Grammy yesterday, and I have noticed that something that has creeped into my daughter's vocabulary is the word allow. They allow us to do this. They allow us to do that. They allow us to do this. They allow, and I am I allowed to do this? And I'm like, whoa, wait a minute. This ain't gonna play. You're allowed to do a bunch of shit. You may not be able to do this, or they may suggest that you do that, or they may, but allow, these are not your fucking master. Right. And so I caught it and I drove it home. I drove it home and I feel sorry for Anya a lot because she's dealing with me as a dad. But, I drilled it home. Hey, you don't have a master. You don't know. You aren't allowed to do that. You may respect that your teacher doesn't want you to do that. That's cool. Mm-hmm. That's cool. I understand that, because maybe they don't want you to have your some device going on during school or whatever. And she didn't have a device, just to be clear. But
but there's a difference between respect and recognizing the value of things going the way that they're supposed to go versus all the distractions if everybody did something wild or whatever. But it doesn't have to be through some authoritarian dictate.
So we have to be parents. Mm-hmm. And I think that, to your point, Nicco, earlier, is that's what they're doing. They're giving up their authority as a parent, because that is a valid authority. Mm-hmm. It is my job to raise my children to an age to where they can where they can live as an adult. That is my job. That is what I do. And because of that, I have earned the authority that the title of father gives me. I earned that. Mm-hmm. Not all authority is bad. I am very anti-authority. Mm-hmm. I am not against somebody. I will respect the doctor's authority if he's trying to cure my ass. That's going to happen. I'm not going to respect a doctor that doesn't have authority and the government just said he's the guy in charge. Fuck all that. That's not real authority. So, so we have to, as parents, step up and do what is right for our kids. And yes, social media is going to be a part of our life for a very long time. It is that we're not going to see that go away anytime soon, because it is a part, just like computers were a part of our life as Chad and I, when we were growing up, they became a part of what is normal. Social media is going to be part of that for our kids. And as a responsible parent, you have to tell your kid, no, that is not good. You know, it is nothing wrong with Facebook. There's nothing wrong with having a Facebook page, but you're not going to be on Facebook for 6 hours a day. That's not going to happen. And so we have to take the responsibility, just like you wouldn't let your kid run around with a fork and shove it into a light socket. You also, you know, there's nothing wrong with a fork. There's nothing wrong with a light socket. You put them together, you got some problems.
Sure about that?
Yeah,
I don't know, man.
But it's the same thing. We have
be
to
something
step
wrong with
up
a fork.
as parents.
Right. You got to make sure you got a full current going through. You know.
That's what Christopher Titus said. The difference between a father and a mother is it can be done with a fork and a outlet. He said a mother sees their child careering towards a outlet and with a fork, and that mom will run right over and grab their hand, smack it, and say, "Don't do that." A father will go look at it and say, "Wait a minute," and the mother will be like, "Oh, they're going to do that," but wait a minute, you won't do that again, will you?
Hey man, look, it's facts though. Like it's
he gonna learn the hard way.
My old grandfather, may he rest in peace. My mom's dad. That was his big thing. He's like, "You'll learn."
Right.
Like, and I have to. I mean, I wrote a whole article about this when we went. It was a year ago that my boys and I were with my parents in Gatlinburg, and I had to kind of. I was fortunate because my wife wasn't there, so like I didn't have to deal with her immediate reaction to it, which she didn't know was going to hurt her. But they were being boys. They were they were climbing on shit, jumping over shit, like walking on a where you had to like balance on a balance beam on a log going across a river that was like rushing underneath with rocks and everything.
Nice.
And like there were some moments. I'm not going to say they didn't risk death, because if you fall just right, you could have died, but it would have taken, like a freak accident or whatever. But they were risking some significant injuries. But they were becoming something. And I didn't want to stop them from becoming that.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like there's something in terms of growth that happens when you do stuff that you've never done before and that you didn't know if you were capable of doing it. And there was a little bit of like an adrenaline rush about like whether it was worth the risk or not. And they saw this vast beauty of the wilderness and they wanted to conquer it in a certain sense. And they wanted to go, like my oldest son even said, and I told y'all this already, like, I don't know, a year and a half ago.
Right. Our audience had
about how, oh no, it wasn't a year and a half ago. Cause shit, it was a year ago that we were there. So anyway, it's like 8 months ago. Where he said, we were going to something and there was like a trail to it and everything. I was like, oh yeah, Nana and Papa want us to go over here. And he's like, I don't want to go there. Somebody else has already been there. I want to go there. And it was like this off the path, we ended up going to the other place eventually, but like where they wanted to go was they wanted to go explore some shit and be the first people who had ever touched or seen whatever they found. And so that's kind of the I don't know, as a dad, I think you have more of that like desire for your kids in you, whereas the mom wants them to be safe and wants them to live forever. And the dad has to be like, you know what? Like, yeah, there's a sliver of a chance that they could die, but I'd rather them. And it's funny because the man of the day for Men of Order was William Wallace today. And when I found that, he had this quote. Let me pull it up here. It's beautiful. It's brilliant. He says, "All men die, but not all men really live."
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. similar idea. I don't even remember who said it, but someone said, you have two choices in life. You can either, be that guy that parks his car by getting right up next to it, slowly moving back around, coming in. And my reaction was, my whole life's going to be like, I'm going to slide this bitch in sideways. I might hit the car behind me.
Throw the parking brake. So you can throw the back end into tailspin. There you go.
Right, for sure. Yeah. And look, that's life.
And it's funny, like you start to, I don't know where that inflection point is, but like when you're young, like you have this invincibility air about you, and then at some point you start to realize, like, no, like I could actually die. I kind of don't want to yet.
Right.
I got some shit I want to do before I die. But then as you get, a good bit older, this is one of the coolest things. So like the chick my wife is going to work for, they're working together on this school project or whatever. She said, I'm not afraid to go to jail for my beliefs. And so I was like, all right, we made the right choice. Like this, right. This is a good thing. You get to a certain point in your life where you have two things going on at the same time. One is you're trying to prepare your soul for heaven, for the afterlife, because you realize, like, there's a whole bunch of stuff that I've done that like was not taking me in that direction. And I don't know how much time I have left, because I've now realized that I can die. So I need to get my house in order and I need to take care of it. And I don't think that that's necessarily like, I used to look down on like old people who went to church a lot and everything, and be like, oh yeah, you're just worried that you're going to go to hell or something. Like, no, now I get it. Like, it's like, no, you start to realize the things that are really important. And that's the one hand. Mm-hmm. On the other hand is you get to a certain point where you're like, you know what? I'm at a point where I don't give a fuck what you say about me anymore. Mm-hmm. I used to care what people said about me. Now I care more about like making sure that I'm doing this right.
Yeah.
And then you say whatever the hell you want to say about me, and you can try to throw me in jail. You can try to you're not going to imprison this, and you're not going to imprison this.
That's right.
Because I'm not letting this stuff be imprisoned anymore by the fear of that other shit.
Right.
And so you kind of get this, like, I'm not going to say you get the air of invincibility back, but you get this air of like, I'm willing to die for this.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, for sure. And we probably ought to start wrapping up. It has been a couple hours, but I do want to pass on to kind of play off that, Chad, because I think that there's a balance that can be made. And we had a conversation tonight at dinner because my granddaughter Skyla, who's actually a year older than my daughter, is over for the weekend because they have spring break and all of that kind of stuff. Anyway, we had a conversation about nutrition, and I said, what you want to do. We were talking about, because we were like, cheese is in large amounts, which is my favorite, is not good for you. It's bad. And we had this conversation, and I said, what you want to do, and this is when dealing with nutrition, I said, you can decide if you want to live to be 60, you want to live to be 70, or you want to live to be 80. And knowing that the average person lives to be about 72. And I said, if you want to live to be 80, you can only eat vegetables. You can barely eat cheese. You aren't going to eat a whole bunch of meat. You're going to eat small amounts of meat. You're going to do all that, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, but you'll live to be 80 if you do that, more than likely, on average. Or you can eat whatever the hell you want. You can just throw another level of gravy on top of the cheese. You can do all that, and that'll be wonderful, and it'll taste great. But you're only going to live to be 60.
If you're lucky. Like I know some people who had like heart attacks when they're 44 and stuff like that. It's, it's the same kind of thing. But on average, yeah.
So I said, I'm aiming at 70. Because I said, because I know I like cheese. I am not going to be 80. That's not going to happen. I'm probably not going to get there. You put just none but vegetables on the table, I am not going to do that. I just know. But I don't want to be 60 either. Yeah. So I'm aiming at 70. And so what we have to do in life is balance. And
Mm-hmm.
to bring it back around to the conversation about a lot of this shit, and a lot of, people don't like I sometimes that I'm not a purist when it comes to these ideas, because I don't fucking know what's right for everybody. I try to give a balanced approach towards everything. And the same is true about raising your kids, dealing with social media in your life, looking at the propaganda that we have all around us. All of these ideas, you have to find the balance. You have to figure out what works for you. Does my daughter have a phone at 11 years old? The answer is no, she does not. Did any of my kids have a phone at 11? No, they did not.
Good.
Yeah. If she shows me, and this is reality, I say a lot of shit sometimes, but if in reality she shows me that she is responsible enough and creatively thinking enough and can figure out shit, I get her a phone. But she ain't there yet. And again, that's what it means to be a parent. And with social media, we are on, and I'm talking about the three of us, we are on social media too much. We do too much with that. We need to be more active and I'm speaking mainly to me. We need to be outside. We need to be doing things with our kids. We need to be proactively trying to have a real life, because real life isn't on the screen. As much as I hope that our audience is figuring out, is loving what we're giving them. If your choices are to go grow a garden, go spend time with your kids, or spend some special time with your wife, or watch Aquarian Anarchy, shut this shit off. So, because as much as you can learn from a book, you can learn from a video, all of that's wonderful things. The best thing in life is your life.
Yeah.
The best thing are those things.
All that shit those people wrote in those books and put in those videos is some shit they did in their real life.
Right.
So you might be capable of writing some shit if you live. So
right.
True.
Yeah.
So y'all ready to go?
Yeah, Nicco, you got anything to throw on top of that? I know you practically parent, and you got all these brothers and sisters.
I mean, I have a whole bunch of them. I don't see them as often. They're in their respective motherly households. I do my best with like the social media thing. Like my little brother Jalen, he's a senior in high school or junior in high school. And then to the youngest is Kayla. Kayla, I'm like kind of concerned because all she did was stare at the screen. But I would tell Jalen, go make her read a book or something. Like go make her do something. It's interesting because it's like I'm not their parents. But the love is there, like I'm their parents, like those are my little people. And it's
but you've got a pull that you may not realize too. Like my son Raven, my oldest boy, could tell Anya anything. I mean anything. Gospel. So you've got
more so than you in some ways, right?
For sure. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. So it's great because they call me. I have a solid relationship with them, and so like when talking to them, I just like, bro, plan out your life, figure it out, live your life, like enjoy your life, like have experiences. Don't be restricted. Don't be shut down. Grow. I tell them to grow. And my little brother Matthew is hilarious. He calls me every once in a while, and he's like, Nick, I've surpassed you, and I'm like, like. Damn, I haven't even reached my peak. Chill out.
See what you need to do. Right. Be like, really? Did you talk to a presidential candidate?
Yeah, I was like, no, I was like, Matthew, like some of these contacts in my phone will blow your mind. So chill out, son. Like, I need you to slow your roll. He's like, Nick, what was your first job? I was like, I worked at Harold's. He's like, right, I'm at Subway. I surpassed you. I'm like, damn. I'm not dead yet. Like, I still have plenty of accomplishment on my day. Like, I'm like, Matthew, okay, so like What have you surpassed me? I'm faster than you, Nick. I'm like, how would we measure this? He was like, well, I was on the track team, you weren't. I'm like, Matthew, I was the fastest, and like all my little things that I've done, like, and so it's just going back and forth with him. But like, I love that. I love that about my brother. Like, he's
funny.
He's hungry for it. He's hungry for it. That's all my siblings. They're hungry for something. They all don't want to sit down. Caleb, he's a work in progress, but like he's a genius as well. Like all my siblings are fucking smart. And I love it. I love it.
That's good.
Yeah. So but my little sister Lisa is gonna make me pull up to a 8th grade dance and like be her bodyguard because I ain't playing. I'm not playing. Yeah, I feel sorry for anybody who tries to like holler at my sisters because they got like 45 brothers before you get to the dad.
Dude, I feel like people talk about, oh, what would you do when your daughter starts dating? I don't have to worry about me. I'll be all right. Dude, her brothers, holy shit.
Yeah, good luck.
Right. Whew. Because you got to remember, my boy, I got one who, I don't know, a mailman must be really tall, but he's like, because I'm like 5'10". This dude's like 6'11". Nathan is huge. He looks like he looks like if Fonzie and an Amish dude had a baby, man. This dude, but he's huge.
And I can't imagine.
Right. And Raven, that dude has arms on him like this. So if they want to fuck with Anya, have at. When her brothers get a hold of you, you are going to regret that.
So, it's not going to be nice because we're going to work the ladder when it comes to like somebody getting messed up. So there's Edward, then there's Caleb, Matthew, Jalen, William, me, Mark, Tyrone. She got 8 brothers. And how many feet is that? 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16. 16 feet's coming at you.
And 16 hands.
You feel me? Oh, man.
You feel them all.
Anybody got a good lawyer for future references?
Mark Rutherford.
Yeah, and we got old boy Legal Mindset too. Speaking of which, I got to see if we can get him. He might be a good one that we could get like later on if there's something big going down. But anyway, I was going to say something. We need to talk after we get off here. That's what I was going to tell y'all.
Cool.
So right, it'll be real quick, but yeah. So everybody go as soon as we get off of here. Uncle Hotep Factor is coming up. Go to Uncle Hotep's channel. Check him out. We got to support the fam, and don't forget, go to menoforder.com. We got bomb content dropping daily. Go to the Twitter. Go to the Instagram. There's all kind of good stuff there. We have our man of the day. We have Jeff, who's in here in the chat. He listens to every Joe Rogan episode and like annotates with like with like little timestamps of like when cool shit happened and everything. So he's been doing yeoman's work, and that so all of those archives are on the website. We got all kind of stuff: dating advice, financial advice, all kind of shit, cultural shit. Anyway, Bitcoin, you name it. But I don't know. That's all I got, and I got church here in about 45 minutes, so I need to bounce here in a minute. But this has been fun.
Yeah,
yes, sir.
These are almost always one of my favorites. I like y'all. This is gonna sound funny, but I like our audience, and I like the two of you. And we were talking about our show over the weekend, and I do have to relay this little message from my daughter. As we were talking, she says that she's met Chad, and she'd like to see him again, and she'd love to meet you, Nicco. So at some point, we got to get ourselves together. So that we can
do some like Zim Zalabim magic and just like on a FaceTime and be like, okay, we'll set this date and just transport me over there. I know there's a Stargate around here somewhere.
Well, look, so Hotep Nation weekend is looking like it's going to happen. I'm not sure exact dates or anything like that, but as soon as we know that we should know in the next week or two, and that's going to probably be like end of the second quarter, beginning of the third quarter of the year, somewhere in that August, September range. And so, or that would be end of the third, beginning of the fourth, whatever. You know what I mean? Anyways, August to September, somewhere in that range is when I would expect it to be. It's going to be in Vegas again. So that's a little bit distant. We might want to try to do something, us, maybe closer to each of us. But anyway, that's an option too, where because I'm planning on being there, and it would be really cool to get there. And that's actually one of the things I got to talk to y'all about after we get off here. But
cool.
Some other stuff like that.
Right on. So I guess everybody, it's been wonderful talking to y'all, and I'll tell you what, these are the best people that you can meet, and I love these dudes, and all I have to say is everybody, stay free.
Peace.